presentation, and we invite you to attend the rest of the webinars we have this semester. They're in the Learn Center, so you can find them there. They are on this flyer, and if you need a copy of it, I'm happy to send you this flyer with the rest of our fall webinars. Otherwise, I will turn it over to Stephen, Amy, and Calvin, and they will share information with us about Proctorio.
Hello. Okay. I'll hop off here in just a second. Allegra, I started the recording, so if you didn't get it, then it's going to get it on my side. So, and as I've seen with most of these, after the video is done, it ends up in chat and you can access it that way. And anyway, just introducing Amy and Calvin, they'll be the ones that are kind of taking a deeper look into Proctorio today. And I just wanted to give them an introduction, but Amy and Calvin, they're pretty much running the show. They're the experts in it, and I'm here for any support that you guys may need. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Perfect. Okay. Sorry, I'm not super familiar with Teams, so I'm just kind of poking around here. So as Stephen mentioned, my name is Amy Sloan, and Calvin Rhymes is here as well. I'm sure we've talked to many of you, or maybe emailed with you at least, and so it is nice to be here to present for you guys today. A couple of topics that Stephen sent over we will cover, and then we're also going to do just kind of a basic run through again of Proctorio, how to add to your course, how to make sure you have the extension, what the exam settings do, and then Calvin can do a quick gradebook review. Anybody who has questions that we aren't covering, or questions about stuff that we are covering, please feel free to just put those in the chat. We'll be keeping an eye on that. Again, Blackboard related questions are best directed to Stephen. He's the expert there, and you know, we work with a lot of LMSs, so we sort of just know how Proctorio works with Blackboard, but we don't know specifically on Blackboard. Unfortunately, most of that stuff should be directed to Stephen. So to get started, I'll go ahead and share my screen. And can you all see my Blackboard instance?
Yep, we got it.
Awesome. Yes, we can see it. You might want to make it a teensy bit larger. If you hit, if you're on Windows, Control and then the plus button, there we go.
Okay.
Here, just in case some people can't see. Now that looks better. It's not so grainy.
No worries. Okay, perfect.
Awesome.
So obviously this is going to look a little different than yours, but you know, the basic concept is the same. So in order to add Proctorio to your course, you just go to the course where you want to add it. Gotta get used to this big view. Go to your highest content menu. And I already have it here. A lot of you may be familiar with this, to see the Secure Exam Proctor icon. If you don't have it, you can always go to Tools, Secure Exam Proctor, type it in just as you see it up at the top of your screen in title case. Everything else stays the same, and you click Submit. I'm not going to do that since I already have it. It'll install it twice, and that will cause other issues. One best practice as soon as you see it is to click on it, and it will take you through the steps to get the extension. Since I already have the extension, as you can see up here, I'm getting this delightful message: Secure Exam Proctor plugin is successfully installed. Please return to your course. Many instructors at TCC have told me that they always click on that every time they're going to go in and work with Proctorio. They get in the habit of just clicking that to make sure that everything's firing on all cylinders, connecting correctly. If your extension is disabled, or maybe we've released a new version, this is a great way to just click in and make sure that you've got everything up to date. Once you have added Secure Exam Proctor and it is connecting correctly, you can start adding it to your exams. So you can either add it to existing exams, or what I'm going to do for this training is create a new exam. And don't have one in there, so I'm just gonna create one for you guys. Click submit. You can put any instructions in there that you want, add any questions you want. I'm not going to do that just to save time. Once you've submitted, you can scroll all the way to the bottom, and you will now see the option to enable remote proctoring. So keep in mind that is all the way at the bottom. Once you select that, then you will be able to view the saved profiles, Proctorio exam settings, and the Proctorio behavior settings. So saved profiles I will touch on in a minute. A couple things I want to point out. These green question marks are going to lead you to our Help and Support Center, which has more information about any topic that you hover over. I also want to point out that once you are in your Blackboard course where Proctorio is enabled, you have access to our 24/7 live chat, which can provide technical support. They can answer questions for you. If you're having issues, they can work through them with you. I definitely recommend anytime you need a quick answer, just reaching out to live chat. Or you can click into the Help and Support Center this way and search for information. Or again, you can hover over and click on the green question mark. So this live chat and Help and Support Center option via the Proctorio extension is the same for students and instructors alike. So a lot of times we hear from instructors, oh, my student couldn't get into the exam, and then they reached out to me, and then I reached out to, whoever else. And truly, it's the best use of everyone's time is if your student is having a hard time getting into the exam, they should reach out to our live chat. When they start a live chat, our support team already has some information. We'll know what operating system they're using, we'll know what kind of device they're on, and we'll be able to easily, cut down what it might not be and get to the root of the cause. And typically it's not on Google Chrome, using not having the extension enabled, or some other technical issue. Maybe their webcam isn't, they're not permitted to share, or something along those lines. But our live chat can easily work that out for them. So in order to get students into their exams as quickly as possible, we definitely recommend having them reach out to our live chat. So let's jump into the Proctorio exam settings. These are broken into 4 categories: the recording options, lockdown options, verification options, and Inquiz Tools. So the first options, the recording options, this is what's going to be provided to you in the gradebook after your students take their exams. The first one, record video. And just a note, these have changed pretty recently, so you may be used to another view here, but just the design, not the actual button. But it's white when it's off. It's kind of light gray when you hover, and you'll see a short description down below. And then it's kind of this darker gray, almost black when selected. Record video is going to enable a student's webcam and record them throughout the test. Record audio will enable a student's microphone, and it will record any background noise during the exam. Record screen is going to record the student's desktop, so you'll be able to see exactly what they're seeing when they take the exam. Record web traffic will record, so you have an open resource exam. You can record any of the URLs that the student visits during the exam. And finally, record room, which this will prompt students. If you select it, it will show you a short video about what each feature does. If you select enable, you can either choose scan at start, which will prompt the student to take a 360-degree view of their test taking area, or intelligent scan, which can prompt them to scan at start and then again throughout the exam just based on activity. These 2 options take a couple of minutes, so do give your students a little extra time if you select one of the record room options. And also make sure you're clear in your instructions about what you want to see. If you just want to see their desktop and make sure it's clear, you can put that in the instructions. If you want to see the whole room, you can put that in the instructions. And keep in mind, record room only works if you have verify video on, which I believe you guys are disabling. So you may not be able to use a record room if you don't enable verify video. Next, we have the lockdown options. I'm going to deselect a couple of these. And you'll notice the first one, force full screen. If you select any of the sub options here, it's going to automatically select these next 4 tabs. That's because they work together with force full screen. What force full screen does is it puts the browser window, it forces it into full screen. And if the student leaves the full screen for any reason, say they select a pop-up or lose internet connection, they would have some different options for what will happen next. So the lenient and the moderate options is going to give the students a countdown. Their screen's going to turn black. It's going to say you have 30 seconds to get back into the exam, and it'll start counting down. Moderate will give them 15 seconds. And then the most strict option is the severe option. If the student leaves the full screen for any reason, they'll be removed from the exam. Only one screen will prompt the student to disable any additional monitors. Since Proctorio only runs on the browser window where the exam is, if they have an additional monitor attached, you will not see what's going on that monitor in the recording. No new tabs. This will ensure that a student doesn't open any additional tabs throughout the exam. Close open tabs will prompt the student to close any tabs they have open before they start the exam. This just ensures that their computer is running at full capacity for the exam, and all the tabs will be repopulated as soon as they submit. These next lockdown options are really important for content protection. So by enabling these, you can ensure that nothing's leaving the exam to be shared on the internet. So disable printing will not allow the students to print anything from the exam. Disable clipboard will disable the copy paste function. Disable extensions. There's a couple of tiles here that are just for our testing instance. You won't see these in your Proctorio settings. Block downloads will prevent the students from downloading anything from the exam. If you do provide articles like a PDF or something you want the students to download, just make sure you don't select this one. Clear cache will clear the browsing history from just during the exam time. So one thing to note with Proctorio, it is a Google Chrome extension. It only runs when a student is in their exam in Blackboard. So this clear cache will only clear the history from that time, from when they start the exam to when they end it. And that's just to ensure that none of that exam information is cached in their browsing history. Disable right-click will prevent these options, so no saving or printing. And finally, reentry with agent will also have a few sub-options. It will show you a video with those options. If you enable it, you can select allow reentry. So if students have time left in Blackboard, they can, if they leave the exam, say they lose internet connection or click on a pop-up, they'll be allowed to re-enter and finish their exam. They go through the Proctorio pre-checks again, and you'll see it as a second attempt in the gradebook. Reentry with agent is similar to allow reentry, but students would be required to reach out to our 24/7 live chat, which they can either access from this extension icon or from the exam, and talk with our agents. Our agents will give them the opportunity to resume the exam. They go through pre-checks again, and you'll see that attempt in the gradebook. And finally, no reentry. This is the strictest option. If a student leaves the exam for any reason, they will not be allowed back in. They'd have to reach out directly to the instructor and ask for an additional attempt. Down below are the verification options. I know at this time you guys are recommended not to use these. These just ensure that the recording options are working properly. So I'm going to go ahead and skip over those. The one I think you guys are still using is verify signature. What this is, before the student enters the exam, there is an academic integrity statement where that they are asked to agree to, that they'll act with honesty, they are who they say they are, just along those lines. They can either click to say okay and enter the exam, or if you select verify signature, they'll just be prompted to sign with their mouse. Live Proctor you will not see in your Blackboard settings or your Proctorio settings. Verified login, I know some of you use this. I know it's been asked of us to provide another option. If you're currently using Verify Login and you want to try another method for linking out to a third-party exam, simply deselect do not enable.
And Amy, not to interrupt, but I actually had information forwarded to me with a group of math instructors. They have found that turning that off is better. When it does the third-party link and all that, it ended up being too cantankerous for them. So they just decided to opt out for it.
Okay, yeah, and you can simply turn that off. And Calvin has a guide he can share either in this chat, or we can send it to you, Stephen, to forward. It's called the link out method, third-party link out method, where you kind of do the manual verify login to get to your third-party exam. So yeah, simply turn it off and we'll send you that guide and you can try that instead.
And Amy, Natalie and David are asking in the chat. We all know, I think by now, that we are not using Verify ID, but I think there's some question about using Verify Video. Can you clarify what Verify Video does?
Sure. Verify Video, and actually as part of this training today, if there's time, I had set up a demo student exam to kind of show you guys what the student goes through when they're getting into their exam, so you can see better for yourselves. But what the verification options do, specifically these first three, is they send the student through a series of pre-checks to just verify that these recording options are working. So if you have record video selected, it's recommended that you use Verify Video, and this just ensures that you're getting a clear picture of the student, that their webcam's working properly, and that you're going to get the best recording possible. Same with Verify Audio. This will do the same for the microphone, and Verify Desktop just ensures that you're getting a clear screen recording. So to put it into words, Verify Video will check the connection between the webcam. They will take 5 images of a student when they're entering the exam, and one of those 5 students needs to be clear enough to pass the Verify Video test. If the students can't pass that test for whatever reason, typically it's because the lighting in the room, that's the most common reason we see. Sometimes it's shadows, sometimes it's webcam quality. The student, if they fail that, they'll be contacted by our live chat. First, the window opens and the student can initiate the chat. If they don't initiate the chat and they continue to try to take a clear picture and it doesn't work, our chat will proactively reach out to them and say, it looks like you're having trouble. It will give them some troubleshooting issues. If the student isn't able to pass, our live chat will do a manual override and let the student into the exam. So that's basically what the Verify Video option will do. That is required to enable the room scan, just to make sure that the camera is performing correctly. So it is kind of tied to that one as well. As far as what the university is recommending, I'm not sure, or what the institution is recommending, I'm not sure at this point. The last I had heard, they recommend don't use Verify Video, but you'd have to check with your institution to find out for sure. The last thing here is going to be the Inquiz Tools, and that's going to be a scientific calculator or a basic calculator and a whiteboard, which, as it says, it's basic. It's either writing with your mouse or typing in. It's not something that's submitted to the instructor at the end of the exam. It's basically just during the attempt they have access to it, and then it gets deleted afterwards. So if you need a more extensive scratch paper for students that you want to see and verify, just put that in your instructions and let them know what you're looking for. As soon as you have the exams, or yes, the exam settings that you want to use, you can create a saved profile by clicking this blue button. You can change the icon. Change the name. If you set it as your default profile, any new exam that you enable Proctorio on, this profile settings will automatically be enabled. Since I already have one, I can delete this other one by just clicking on the trash can. You can edit them and make another one your default, up to you. And then once you have your settings in place and you submit the exam, you'll see that remotely proctored is added to the exam name in parentheses. This is just to let you know that you've enabled it. It lets your students know before they click into the exam that they will be proctored. And once at least one student takes the exam, the settings will become locked. You can still see them, which Calvin can show you in the gradebook. It'll just say locked and you won't be able to change them. Are there any other questions regarding the settings? Looks like we've got a hand raised here.
Dave asked if the save settings follow you throughout all your courses, and Calvin answered it. So they follow the user, to every course. So you can create a profile and use it in multiple courses. And it looks like someone's got their hand up if they want to type it in the chat or ask the question.
Can you please show us from the very beginning, starting from Blackboard, because I've never used this.
Are you talking about adding it to your Blackboard course, adding Proctorio?
Can you share your screen starting from the Blackboard and where we go get started?
So starting from like the home page in Blackboard?
Yeah, you can pick up a course.
So the tool should be placed in your highest content menu. So we recommend just...
Okay, and for the highest content menu, that just giving a little bit of translation there, in your lesson. And so when you've created a lesson, and if I could do the screen share, yours yours looks almost the exact same. It's from the tools menu, and then the secure proctor exam. So wherever you are in your lesson and you're wanting to add the exam, that's when you're going to put that in.
Because for some reason, my Blackboard, this page does not look exactly the same as what you're showing me. That's why I got lost.
Yeah,
ours
it's
is a
not
little
going to look
different.
the exact same because they're using the Ultra or Plus or some particular version, but it's still under Tools. The only thing you'll see is a black menu box with Tools, but it's going to read the exact same.
Tools? You mean course tools?
No, it would be under Tools. It's in the middle, so if you go into your lessons area where you're creating the test, at the top you'll have, let me pull mine up here. I'm not meaning to interrupt, I'm just trying to help clarify.
No, you're totally fine.
Yeah.
We're going to switch anyway, so this is a great time for you to share your screen, Stephen. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Give me 1 second. So let me try to Blackboard options, and is my screen sharing?
Yep.
Okay, so if you're in let me go ahead and back out here just so I can show you. Okay, so I'm going to go into one of and so now you're going to see this looks like it does with the TCC one. I'm just going to pop into a lessons area. Math is fun. The tools that you see right here, because hers isn't blacked out, this is, but you have tools and then the secure proctor exam. So this is where I do, and I actually added this here already. Let me go ahead and let's do this as fresh, a new content folder. And I need to move that to the other one. Okay. So if we do this here, tools, then you name it the same. I remember you, Amy, saying something that you name it the exact same as this so it knows what's going on. The description here, and then hop over and hit submit. And this is where you'll see this. Now, that just gives you the tool that's basically adding it in. And she went, and I'm not sure if you were paying attention from the beginning, but she went to the getproctorio.com, did the extension. And so in Chrome, you'll have the little extension manager that's going to show you that. And if not, I can go back through the guide and show you how to do that. I just don't want to repeat what she's already done. But if you're in here, and let's say we're going to go ahead and add a test I'm going to create one that's just one. And Amy, I might be overlapping you here, but sometimes if they see it twice, it's good.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, so I'm just creating the test shell here. Questions, we're going to tell it just true, false. And okay. And so as soon as you've created that test, which you've created an exam before, you pop the test in that you've created. And down at the end, if that's showing it, the remote proctoring, so the Proctorio settings. So whenever you've added that tool into the course, you've only got to do it once, to my knowledge. If you select the remote proctoring, you get all the options that you have down here. And this looks the same on hers as it does on our side. And then whenever you've selected the stuff that you need to know, then, or all the different options you want, then you hit submit.
I got it from here, but my question was from the very beginning. How do I, when I created a test, it seems like I'm practicing. I don't have this at the very bottom. I don't have that option.
Okay, because that's what I just showed you. You have to go to the tools and then the Secure Proctor Exam. That's putting that plugin that enables you to use it, if that makes sense.
Yes. Yes, thank you.
Yes,
And
so
we also have some guides.
It's not going to give you the option unless you've added it to the course. So that basically, this is just a plugin that says here, and it'll let you know if you need to put the plugin into Chrome. The most important thing in relaying it to students is you have to be in Google Chrome. You cannot be in any other browser. I tried with 3 others and it doesn't work. So that is tested and confirmed.
Okay.
So
that was great, Stephen. You did a great job there. And you're right. It's absolutely great to see it on your Blackboard. So
yes, that's what I wanted to do, because sometimes if it doesn't look the exact same, it's not going to click. Here it's looking the same way, so that works. And the thing is, the cool thing about it, when you add that in, you can go add that feature to any exam that you've already created. You don't have to go recreate your test again. This is just a tool to help proctor it, to reduce the cheating part. I don't think there's any such thing as absolutely eliminating it, but this is going to put it in the 90 percentile range. So I hope that helped. And then Amy, you can go ahead and take back over control. I just wanted everybody to see it's like, okay, this is what it is, since everybody's contacting me for questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you, Stephen. And I think now Calvin is going to share his screen and present the gradebook review.
Okay. And then let me stop sharing. And then you should be able to do that.
Sorry, I had to change my microphone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Alrighty, let me share my screen. We're going to do Blackboard and share. Let me know once you can see a Blackboard screen.
Yep.
Got it.
Perfect. So now we're going to go through the actual review process after an exam has been completed. Although it may look a little different, we're simply going to go into your course, and then we're going to go to your Grade Center, then Full Grade Center. From here, we're simply going to locate the exam we would like to review, just by selecting this little slider over. And then depending on the test you would like to review, I'm going to select the little drop-down menu and select View Proctorio Gradebook. So just next to the title of the exam, we're simply going to select the drop-down and View Proctorio Gradebook from the options. If you're not seeing View Proctorio Gradebook, please make sure you're within the Chrome browser and have our extension installed, which is this little gray shield that acts as Nav new to support. If you do not see the shield, just simply go to getproctorio.com and you'll be prompted to add it to your Chrome browser. Okay. Now I'm going to select a little drop down and open my Proctorio Gradebook. So in just a moment, you're going to see all the attempts for this particular gradebook populate. We also have options here at the top, including your settings, Proctorio's map, display options, and export options. Although my Blackboard overall looks different, excuse me, this gradebook will look the exact same. These options here. We also have the student's name, their submission time, attempt, their score. The score is pulled directly from Blackboard for each student. Any annotations, abnormalities, and then we have their suspicion level here.
Okay, and one question, Calvin, you may end up going into it later, is if the people who are watching here, especially those that are new, I believe even in the ultra setting, you have that student preview mode, because if the student's having trouble, they're more than likely first going to reach out to their instructor. And so if they see what it looks like from a student view, they might be able to guide them along later. You don't have to switch that now. I was just saying after the fact, I like doing that student preview mode because it just seems to make a connection.
Sure, yeah. We'll pass it back over to Amy once this review is over, and she'll walk through that piece.
Awesome, thank you.
Absolutely. One thing you may notice if you're on a smaller monitor or if you're very zoomed in like I am, you may see cut off here for the submission time. At the bottom, there's this hidden columns. So if you click over, it'll populate the actual submission time, and then you can go back over in case you want to see the actual suspicion level in the icons here. So just at the bottom, if you notice something is kind of cut off or not visible fully, you're not seeing a date here, just click that little hidden columns over, it'll populate. Now, the suspicion level is extremely customizable to fit your actual exam needs. To determine the suspicion level, we're going to go into the Proctorio Settings tab here. From here, we have Proctorio's behavior settings. These behavior settings are essentially what is determining suspicion for the actual gradebook. We have a few preset options you can choose from, and similar to the Proctorio settings, there's that green question mark again, just about everywhere here. And we also offer this custom option. Custom essentially allows you to toggle these behavior frame metrics in a higher or lower weighting to determine suspicion, including navigating away, any keystrokes, head and eye movement. It's very customizable to fit your needs depending on the exam settings you select.
Yes, and just as a cautionary level and some research that I've done, towards the default settings or more towards the mid to low moderate, you're going to have less trouble, and you may be able to verify that on your end than if you put it into stealth mode, because it's going to end up flagging everything.
Absolutely. We definitely recommend, if you want to utilize these preset options, feel free. And then if you're noticing as you're reviewing something's not being flagged as highly as you would like, you can always toggle these up down here. Any and all of these options.
And also, and this should be the last one just so it's mentioned, if one student has taken the exam, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, you cannot go back and change the settings as soon as one student's already taken it.
Yes, the exam settings you cannot change. These behavior settings, you can change these ones at any time. The actual exam settings that Amy went over, you cannot change those after a
Okay,
student's
okay.
taken
I
them.
just wanted clarification because that's a topic that's come up.
Sure.
And the audio level, Dave had a question there since I'm reading it. It's like, what should the audio level have to be suspicious behavior?
Sure, so that can be suspicious if there's someone else in the room talking to the student. It's going to detect that audio. So it can be very useful in that regard. As you're reviewing, we definitely see common behavior of students talking to themselves, which will also pick up audio. So we definitely recommend having this one a little more lenient. That way they're not incorrectly flagged. And here at the bottom, we have our abnormalities. These abnormalities essentially going to tell you what one student does more or less than the rest of the class. So if they're navigating away more, typing more, copying and pasting, anything like this, you'll be able to flag them with a higher suspicion level, and their behavior will become abnormal, which will populate in the gradebook once I go into a deeper dive into an attempt. And then we also offer environmental and technical abnormalities, which will do the exact same as well, including audio, head and eye movement, and also maybe exam duration, or this last one here, exam collusion, is going to tell you if 2 or more students take the exam at the same time and on the same network and maybe potentially colluding together. It's going to just give you this indicator of a red icon here on next to their attempt. We also have the Proctorio Map. The Proctorio Map is going to give you a general vicinity as to where the student is located based on IP address. It is not an exact location, but a general vicinity, again, based on IP. Our display options have several useful features, including here at the bottom, our FERPA controls. In the case you are showing this gradebook to a colleague or maybe having a conversation with a student, you would like to hide the ID and names or grades of the test takers, you have the ability to do so. Infinite PDF, I'm going to come back to in a moment when I review an attempt. Help icons, those are those green question marks, but also these learn more links you see here. So you'll see these more as well when I go through an actual attempt. These help icons, always recommend having those on. Sorting by last name, just that, sort it by last name. A gradebook tour, this is essentially everything I'm walking you through right now. So this gradebook tour is located within the Proctorio gradebook, just in the display options. It's about 2.5 to 3 minutes long. It's going to go over everything I'm walking you through right now. And then suspicious IDs, if this is a setting you're using, it'll display if the student did not scan their ID correctly. If you'd like to export the grade as a whole, the gradebook as a whole, I should say, we have a gradebook export and a PDF report, which will include these following sections. And then also the ID image export, again, if you're utilizing the ID functionality. Now when I go back to the Proctorio gradebook, I'm going to see these suspicion levels in red and yellow, then the rest of them are green. I'm going to take a look to this student here, Calvin, demo student, and see what he's up to. So the first 2 things you're going to see when you open an attempt, you have the video recording on the left and the screen recording on the right. These do go in conjunction with each other. We have all of these Proctorio icons, which I'm going to come back to in just a moment and go over each of their functionality. And then down here, we have the entire duration of the exam. Now, of course, you do have the ability to simply press play and watch the exam at up to ×8 speed. However, we understand that can be very time consuming. What we typically recommend when you're reviewing an attempt to save time and also see exactly what the students are doing, is looking for these red and yellow flags as you go through the exam. What is the student doing at each of these intervals that they're being flagged for? You can clearly see from this point of view that I am navigating away to another website. If you are ever curious as to know why is Proctorio flagging the student at that moment, the very first Proctorio icon, this incident log, will give you a description of the flag. So it's this old school webcam icon called our incident log. It's going to give you a description of the flag. If you are utilizing our record web traffic, it'll track the websites in case they do go to any. Just below the incident log, this little circle with an arrow icon is our room scan feature. Not sure if this is something you're entirely utilizing with the record video, but this is where that will populate right here to review those scans. To return to the screen recording, it's this monitor with a camera in the middle. The world icon is going to show their IP address and general location. It is not an exact location, but a general vicinity. And then we have this open book. This open book is going to be very useful for you as instructors, especially if you have TAs. It essentially allows you to make notes of each of these flags or any frame throughout the duration of the exam. You can make an annotation or note of what the student's doing here. Opening website. You can color coordinate it depending on how suspicious it may be. In this case, red, and save the annotation. You'll notice it's going to populate in the actual annotation log here, or incident log, apologies, in red, but also in the actual duration of the exam as a higher red or yellow bar, depending on the color you select. Again, you can make these annotations at any interval as you're reviewing the exam, depending on what you're seeing. And you can also press play at any moment to see exactly what the student's doing. Here, make another annotation. This is our disable printing feature. So even though I tried to print, it flagged me, but also there's nothing to be printed off.
Okay, quick question with the video settings, and this may end up being a privacy concern, just with the nature of recording. Is only the instructor able to see these? Is there anyone else that can? Can someone at Proctorio, like, where does that all lie? Is it on your side, or is it on TCC's side in this particular case?
Only the instructor has access to these videos. No one at Proctorio can review these videos whatsoever.
Okay, good. That I could see that being a concern, and then someone has their hand raised over here. Okay, Amy answered that one. Myra, is that?
Yes, that's me. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have two questions. The first one is every time I use Proctorio, there's always a student or more than a student that tells me that that Proctorio is asking them for a password. And even though I don't set up passwords, they're not able to take it, and I'm having them contact customer service. But I'm wondering if there's something that I can be doing to help avoid that.
Yeah, so if students are being asked for a password, the first two things you want to make sure they're doing is they first are using Google Chrome and also have our Chrome extension, which is this little shield icon. Those are the 95% of the time they're missing one of those two things, and Proctorio is trying to put the password into the exam that we set, but we can't since they're missing one of those two items. Having them contact our support is the fastest resolution there, as our support has troubleshooting tips in addition to that to walk them through and get them into their exam.
Great. My second question, thank you. My second question was, I usually tell them ahead of time before they take their quizzes and exams, I tell them to download the extension. Should I be waiting until they click on it for them to follow the steps?
You can have them either download the extension. I definitely recommend having a practice test for that reason.
And I just did that this semester, and I was surprised. I never thought about that, but yes, that's very helpful.
Absolutely, the practice test, you can have it open throughout the entire semester. That way they can test their machine at any time. And the first step, if they don't have the extensions, they'll see an error message to install it.
I see.
We also have a student guide that will prompt them to do the install as well.
I'm going to put a link to that in the chat here. I'm just searching for it.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yes, and then on the Blackboard side itself, when you're in there, I guess the My TCC part, under training, and then on the right-hand side, there's Proctorio. It has the student guide if you want to pop that in for them, the one for using it with third parties, and then the instructor setup as well. So if you're like, oh, I don't remember this or don't remember that, remember when you're in Blackboard in the training tab under Proctorio, just if you have any questions on that. And then Dave, you had your hand up as well.
Yeah, it's a quick question. I had an instructor who wanted to share exam results with her chair, and she was wondering if there's a way to export these results, or is that a matter of having to put the chair in that particular course?
Due to privacy, we do not allow the videos to be exported. We want to make sure they only stay in one area. If you add the chair to the course, they'll be able to review them, or as I'm going to go over here in a moment, we have a PDF option as well.
Okay, great, thank you.
So I'm going to go through the rest of this gradebook, and then we'll leave it open to questions since we're coming close to time. The last couple of pieces I want to quickly go over is once you've gone through, you've added your annotations. If this student did not follow your instructions, this last icon here is the PDF export. So if you come here, you have the ability to pull a PDF of the annotations you made, so whenever you specifically flag the student, as well as the incident log as well. You can then generate a PDF of that actual report and share that with the chair if they need it. If that's easier, that's probably going to be the easiest solution. It's going to include the incident log, every single flag that's being picked up here, as well as your annotations that you made as an instructor. It'll include the ID icon, an image as well, if that's something that is being flagged, or if that's something being utilized. So you can also see that here. This is what it will display. You'll also notice I'm being flagged for a suspicious ID here due to how poorly I scanned my ID. That's another option there. Below this information at the top, we have our attempt ended message. So if the test takers are ever kicked out of the exam for any reason, meaning their internet died, computer died, they exit full screen, whatever have you, it'll populate that messaging here, as well as a learn more link. You'll also be able to track the websites visited through our web traffic index. If you click show details, it'll give you the list of URLs that you can export as a CSV. Then at the very bottom, we also offer a computer performance index. It's going to tell you how the computer performed, including the overall performance, internet, just computer, hardware quality. Then you may see this message here. This just basically means that the test taker's computer is very busy and they do not have enough RAM prior to entering the exam. You can also click show details, and it's going to give you additional information, including, of course, a learn more link. But those are a couple of quick ways how you can share this information with a chair or a dean. If they want to take a look, you can just give them a PDF report. It's going to show every single one of these flags. Every one of these yellow and red bars is a flag, and then the higher red bars are the annotations, the actual, and the annotations are these higher flags you see, so the ones that are a bit taller. It's going to include all of this information there, or you can add them to the course if that's something that's feasible. I'm going to stop presenting now if there's no other questions and pass it back over to Amy to do the student side.
Sounds good.
You should be able to share now, I believe. I just ended mine.
Yeah. Can you see my Blackboard again?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. So for a student, and I'll try to do this as quickly as possible because I know we're running short on time, a student will just navigate to their exam in Blackboard. You'll see again that it says remotely proctored on the student side. They click into that exam. I'm actually going to switch over to Canvas because a couple reasons. Number one, these exams, if you have all of the lockdown and recording options on, they don't allow a student to be in a meeting like I am right now. So I had to really dial these settings back, and I just had one set up in Canvas already. So just pretend like we're looking at Blackboard. It's going to look exactly the same once they start their exam here for the most part. So the first thing a student is going to see is this before you begin page. And this is going to be a customized page based on the exam settings that you, the instructor, have selected. So it's going to let them know exactly what's going to be restricted. It's going to give them some information about using the best internet connection possible. The clipboard will be disabled. The current clipboard will be empty. This is because we have disabled clipboard selected, and on down the list. The browser cache will be cleared as soon as the exam is submitted. You will not be allowed to right click. You will not be able to print. So any of your lockdown options are going to be laid out there for the student. And down below, it's going to let them know what's going to be collected via the recording options. So if you enabled recording video, microphone, all those things are going to be listed here for the student. Down below that, they have access to our high visibility mode and can get more info about accessibility if they need to. And then they'll be prompted to start the exam pre-checks. Once they do that, for any of the recording options that were selected, they will go through those exams. It'll prompt you to share the screen where the exam is going to be located. That's because I didn't disable my additional monitor. So either way, they'll have to select the screen, and then they'll be able to see themselves here in the camera. Going to give them some friendly advice. And it's asking for the ID. Just have to hold it up. Gotta have a steady hand. If for some reason you can't have a steady hand, you can always click to take a manual picture. If it's too blurry, they can always retake it and then go on to next. This is the webcam image test, otherwise known as verify video. I know you guys aren't enabling that, but this is what happens for a student when that test is happening. Takes 5 pictures. Gets a clear picture, and I'm ready to pass forward. There's the picture of my ID. This is that academic integrity statement. I didn't have verify signature selected, so I would just click I accept begin now. If you have verify signature selected, it will prompt the student to sign with their mouse. And then, of course, it would be waiting for Blackboard, and the student would be in the exam. So once they're in the exam, this is their quiz tools. You can see that they are able to see themselves here and know that they're being captured in the recording. They can make this screen size larger or smaller. They have access to live chat if they're having a technical issue. Here is the, well, there I started a chat. Calculator. I can show you what that looks like if you want. And the whiteboard, which again is just writing with a mouse, not the easiest thing in the world. You can also type if you wanted to take notes. And then again, that's deleted at the end of the attempt. If all of these things are too distracting, you can always collapse this window so it goes away and it doesn't bother the student if it's too distracting. And then they can just carry on with their quiz. So that is the super quick student side. Any questions on that?
Yeah, Myra had one, and I believe we went over this. I understand we cannot change the settings once the student takes the exam, but what about a future exam?
Yeah, so you can, once you create a copy of that exam or create a new exam, the settings will be fresh. You can set them, as long as no one's taken it, you can set them however you'd like. We also have some additional information. Oh, sorry, was someone have a question?
Pamela, you have a question?
Just really quickly while we're waiting for Pamela, if she has a question, our marketing team has put together some great resources to give to first-time users of Proctorio and on all students, just regarding privacy and data protection and the steps that Proctorio goes to ensure that students' privacy and data is protected. We have so many new Proctorio users, not only new to us, but new to online classes at all. So there's definitely been a lot more questions about privacy and data protection. And so we're happy to share all the information that students might need, share it with the instructors so they know, and then they can share it with their students as well. That's PDFs, so we'll email those over to you, Stephen, if that's okay, and you can put those maybe in the training module.
Sure.
Okay. Great. Well, any other quick questions? Well, we've just got about 2 minutes left. Pamela, I know you're raising your hand, but maybe we're having some technical difficulties. Are you able to put your question in the chat?
I would like to find out if Proctorio can protect against students taking pictures with their cell phone.
Pam, do you mean taking pictures of what's on the computer screen with their cell phone?
Yes.
Yeah, that's actually, Amy, a question I've gotten before. So I know we can keep students from copying the test or from downloading the test or from printing the test, but would it flag anything if a student picked up their phone and took a picture of what was on the monitor? So for instance, if I'm in Dave Denny's class and I can take a picture of what's on the monitor and I can text it to my friend who's going to take the test later, but would me picking up my phone and holding it up and taking a picture, would that get flagged?
Yeah, it's going to flag them with their head and eye movement. So if they're looking away, if they're looking at a phone, especially if they're trying to take a picture of the screen, it's going to flag them in the screen recording and allow you to review that during the duration of the exam. We catch students consistently, those that are trying to do it, as they don't know what they're being flagged for. So when they lift up their phone and are looking away, looking at their phone, it's going to flag them in the camera as they're looking away, and you'll be able to clearly see through the actual recording that they're using their phone.
Great, perfect.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys. I haven't seen any more questions come up, and you've been able to address a bit. It was a little bit more in depth this time, so that's good. So just so we have a better understanding, or those of us who are helping to support their instructors, that's really useful for us. But for what it seems, the technical side of things, so to speak, is they just need to reach out to Proctorio support for that, instead of going to their instructor for the most part.
Yes, that is correct. We definitely highly recommend our support. If the students are if students are contacting the instructor having technical difficulties, highly recommend pushing the students to contact Proctorio support. That's what they're there for. They're 24/7, 365, and really ready to help out if anything.
Yes, and students will try to get out of taking exams. I know that may be shocking, but trying to have all technical problems will come up, and so not to let that be an excuse for them not to take an exam or to have that turned off.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you guys. We may have another one of these later in the semester if there's a need, but I do want to thank you both. Thank you for your time, your second time doing this, and more in depth. And I thank those of you who have attended. And Allegra, if it's all right, I guess we can call this one adjourned.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. The link for attendance is in the chat. So if you want to get professional development credit for attending this webinar, make sure you click that link and fill out that brief form. And I have on the screen now our upcoming fall webinars in case you want to join us
Are
for
these
any
the
or
same
all of
as
those.
the? Oh, sorry. Are these the same as the Lunch and Learn?
No,
Or that's
the
a
lunch and
completely
learns are
different
different.
series.
Yeah. Yep. All right,
Awesome.
everyone. Thank you. If you have questions about the webinars, please let me or Natalie know. And if you have questions about Proctorio, use the Proctorio help chat is what I learned today. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Thank you all. Have a great rest of your day.